Welcome on into the Fantasy Football Forge. My name's Steve, and it is time to update some quarterback rankings. What you're seeing on the screen right now are the previous, earlier off-season quarterback rankings. Got a cat making sure she doesn't ruin the sound. She moved through nice and smoothly. So, these are the previous rankings we're going to update from here on the screen. Just a quick plug on a couple of things. Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can come join us here on the channel. Live streams, mock drafts. You can get in them. We do it on Sleeper. I drop a link into the chat. You join, and we've got enough people that we're getting there where we should have some full rooms here down the stretch. So no bots, that's great. It's a good time. Come join us. Also, if your draft is upcoming, you can find my rankings, all of them, up to date. Every time I update them, they're updated up here on the website, www.theFFForge.com. Up above where you can't quite see on the screen right now, there's some tabs, one of them called Rankings. You click on there, or you could just go into the description of any of my videos at this time of the year, and there will be a link as well to the Rankings page. What I'm going to show you real quick here on the front page of my wonderful, beautiful website is this little thing here. You click on it, and this is what I think some people call a bar sheet, a draft sheet of sorts. There it goes, fills in there nicely. So this has, I update this about once a week, and maybe, as we get into towards the end of the month here, I'll update it a little bit more regularly if there are any last-second updates that I'm doing or major updates that have to be done to the rankings. But this has my rankings in it. You can use this, cross off the players as they get drafted. You've got the little indicators of the tiers that I have players in. So hopefully you'll find some use from that. And that also, when you go on to the rankings page, right up top there, and here are the rankings. So that brings us back to the quarterback rankings. Now, right up top, not going to have a whole lot of change. There we go. Now I can actually see my rankings. So, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. Tier 2, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. I have not changed anything here, so that remains the same. Obviously I feel good about the order that I have these ranked in, these players, and I feel good about having that slight tier shift between the two groups. Nonetheless, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts are the two where in drafts, I'm more likely to get, just because I like, to get a little bit of a value. And I still think that they're going to give you an advantage over the majority of your opponents in the league. That's going to bring us on to this next tier. Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, that has not changed. However, I do believe that their ADPs are drastically too high. And I might have to move Patrick Mahomes back if, not going to have Rashee Rice for, it sounds like 4 weeks. So, and then Marquise Brown's already been injured this offseason. Now, as an ankle injury, I think he'll be able to come back by the time that the season starts and everything, so that would be helpful. But part of the reason that I'm higher up on Patrick Mahomes at this point, not compared to ADP, just the part of the reason that a lot of us are a little bit more bold on Patrick Mahomes again this year, it doesn't just come down to Patrick Mahomes' name value. I've had him ranked lower in previous seasons. It comes down to having a healthy wide receiver core. So he's already down one wide receiver for a portion of the early season. Might have to move him back, might not, I don't know. It's tough. Brock Purdy has not moved. However, somebody has moved from way down in my rankings when I guess misguidedly thought he was going to probably miss some time in the offseason. And if you've watched my stuff, you know that I'm quite high on Dak Prescott, and literally I am in the rankings as well. He is my QB 8 there this offseason. My only concern with him, drafting him, is just that he hasn't had the best track record of staying healthy. But in terms of a per-game basis, which you can get from him, very good. So especially like a 10-team quarterback league, just draft him, keep him only. There will be players on the bench in a 10-team league that you can use in case of an emergency, in case something happens. And if he does get injured, hopefully it's just a couple of games, 3 games, hopefully that's all that it is if that happens. Then I've still got Brock Purdy here as just pretty much stated. And then Kyler Murray, I've got right behind Brock Purdy in this third tier. This third tier is going to be a little bit of a bigger tier. Typically 15 to 18 quarterbacks after that top tier of quarterbacks, which I have two tiers, but those top 5 quarterbacks this year. Typically, you're not going to find much of a difference in what you're getting in terms of a week in and week out basis from the bottom to the top of this tier, despite, obviously there will be some sort of difference, but mathematically speaking, it probably won't change your team's record very much. There's just a big globule of quarterbacks that are usable every season, and I have Bo Nix right behind Kyler Murray. You want to take him ahead of Kyler Murray. I could understand that well enough. And then I've got Justin Herbert behind here. I'm pretty optimistic about this offense. The offensive line thing stinks. The addition of Keenan Allen should help them as an offense, as a team as a whole, even though that clouds some things a little bit more fantasy-wise. So still quite high on Justin Herbert, and I feel comfortable with where you can get him in drafts. Then we've got it looks like Jared Goff jumping just a couple of spots here. I'm always a little bit low on Jared Goff because I don't think he provides too much special, although, last year especially, obviously it's been good. I am expecting a bit of a step back for that offense. I struggle to lower him too much more, but at the same time, he's not really a target of mine because he does tend to go, higher than some of the guys that I have ranked ahead of him, as well as some of the guys that I have ranked immediately behind him that I could then get, like Jordan Love, who I have immediately behind him, is going quite late in drafts. A little bit surprised at how late he goes, but it is what it is. And then we get to Trevor Lawrence, who's been surpassed by a few of these for no real reason. Overall, pretty optimistic about Trevor Lawrence this offseason. Another guy who, if worst comes to worst, if I push my luck and I don't get any of my other targets, and Trevor Lawrence is the one that I end up getting, I'm okay with it, just like I'm okay with C.J. Stroud. I think there's a lot of weapons in that offense for that situation to improve greatly over last season for him. Of course, not fully confident in that, but some concerns. And then Justin Fields has dropped a little bit in my rankings. This has a lot to do with looking at the Vegas lines. Go check out that quarterback Vegas lines video if you want a little bit more information about those. But that helped me to push him back a little bit. I just don't, 150 yards passing a game plus an up and down rushing attack usually is the case for him. Just screams headache to me. So he's definitely going to have, some decent end of season numbers, and he's definitely going to have some boom weeks. But I don't feel very comfortable with the floor for him, and I just don't want that headache. And for where I have to draft him, I'm probably not going to end up getting him because, once again, when all things go worst case scenario, I actually am pretty fond of a couple of guys at the top of this tier and wonder if maybe I'm a little too low on them. So the top of this tier being tier C here with Drake May leading that tier. Obviously, he's been getting a lot of good buzz. I still do have some concerns. I think they're going to want to be a rush-first offense, of course, and they help to Ramondre Stevenson's looking better than he has in previous years. They've helped to then add to that room, of course, with Travion Henderson. And I still don't know what to make of this receiving core. I think Drake May will make the best of it. He has that rushing upside as well, so that's obviously a big plus. But it's not like, he's not Jaden Daniels or anything like that with the rushing upside, or he would be higher in the rankings for sure. But I'm very much okay with taking Drake May. I don't really want him to be my only quarterback, and that's kind of what the tier above here is where, like, I feel comfortable enough, even if I'm questioning things, for these guys to be my only quarterback. It gets to the borderline the lower that we go in this tier, of course. Nonetheless, that's kind of where the tier break happens. So Drake May next. It looks like J.J. McCarthy moving up, you listen to other experts around breaking down numbers and talking about the pass of Kevin O'Connell with quarterbacks there, And it does give you a certain comfort about J.J. McCarthy. And I'm comfortable with what he'll do with J.J. McCarthy in terms of setting him up for success. How successful that will be for fantasy football, I'm not so sure. I think they're going to want to establish that run quite a bit more. So not really a rushing attack, not really a high passing attack. But, of course, he's got the weapons to do well. And historically, the quarterbacks in Kevin O'Connell's system do well. So I like J.J. McCarthy coming out. I still like him. I think that there's a lot of potential there. I could almost have Drake May in his own tier. Maybe I need to bump him up a tier because I think significantly a little bit better about Drake May. But he doesn't have Justin Jefferson to throw to. He doesn't have Jordan Addison to throw to even. So, those are my concerns for Drake May. In terms of just who he's throwing to. Then we've got Caleb Williams has just been surpassed by a few guys. The offseason hasn't been going very well for him. I believed in him coming out of the draft. I still believe that he has a lot of talent. I question the mentality side of things, not for the same reason that all the news was coming out of the draft on him. But when I first got extremely scared about him was the offseason, the Hard Knocks episode last year. They did the Chicago Bears were on the Hard Knocks show on HBO. And he was asked if he was nervous. And he said he doesn't get nervous. And I don't think that's true. I think genuine quarterbacks and true confidence is what makes it. And if you're hiding a weakness of yours, you're not confident about that. And so that just set off some alarm bells for me with how Caleb handled that, reacted to that, and how he commanded the team even in like the team meetings and stuff. Just didn't feel quite like an alpha quarterback to me. And he can grow into it, of course. But those were my concerns, and so far, it hasn't been the best for the number one quarterback in last year's 2024 NFL draft. Matthew Stafford has fallen a little ways, I think, behind a few people here. Maybe he ends up in the same spot as I had him originally. I don't know, but I had him maybe moved up a little bit with some general confidence about this offense. With the injury thing going on, which is they're not quite on schedule right now, as of he was supposed to practice on Monday, August 11th, and then he didn't end up practicing. That doesn't overly concern me. It sounds like he'll be back by the time that the season starts, but once he takes some hits on the field and everything, is he going to make it through the season? I just have concerns about that situation, and he wasn't great for fantasy last year, but now he's got Devontae Adams. So they're a run-heavy team. A lot. I don't want to say a lot needs to go right. He just needs to stay healthy, and he should be fine, but also probably not quite as good as a lot, but not top 12 good or anything, so it is what it is. Tua Tagovailoa has, I guess, surpassed Gino Smith for, I can't come up with any specific reason why that has happened. Maybe the Vegas lines or something when I was looking at those just swapped those two for me. It looks like I had them pretty close previously. But Geno Smith next up in this tier. Vegas going to want to run. Not the best defense probably, so they're going to have to pass. Smith is quite a good passer. I like that receiving room and where it can grow into as the season goes along, and he's got a reliable source in Jacoby Myers immediately, and they've got some weapons around that to help maybe make that target just a little bit easier for him as well. I think things should be smooth for Geno Smith. I don't know about fantasy greatness. And then Darnold behind that, Seattle offensive line, not one of the offensive lines in the league. Darnold tends to struggle behind lesser offensive lines. The upside for Sam Darnold is still great, and that's why he deserves to be in this same tier. He's no doubt going to start at some point through the season. I mean, the coaching staff's jobs probably rely on him showing some sort of promise at some point this year, or the team will move on. So the injury pinky thing, not good. I moved them back a little bit because I had moved him up into this area. Oh boy. Into the Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams. I can't remember exactly where I had him. Somewhere within there, not ahead of Drake May, I don't believe. So he is a fantasy viable player when he's playing. How many games are we going to get out of him this year? Got no clue. And then we've got Aaron Rodgers right behind that. It looks like Russell Wilson has tumbled down my rankings for no real reason. I think maybe Michael Penix I moved up just because of the grab bagness of it. And, at some point Russell Wilson's probably going to not be the starter later on in the season. So for like 2 quarterback leagues, that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, Michael Penix, I'm not like the biggest believer in him, but I also didn't have him in the NFL draft, like a whole lot lower than a Bo Nix in my my projection, my rankings for them. So obviously there is always potential there. It's the same story with Cam Ward, who I've got right behind him. Nice, strong start to the season. It doesn't have the best weapons. Don't expect that offense to be very good, whereas I think Atlanta's offense will provide more touchdown opportunities and everything. So, you just never know with these rookie quarterbacks, though, what you're going to get, and it can be quite good, So, don't want to overlook that too much. Bryce Young, promising end to last season, got an improved wide receiving room at least. We'll see. I'm just not like I'm not a hater, but I suppose I'm not the biggest believer. Russell Wilson right behind that. Obviously, he's got a good weapon there in New York. And, I mean, Joe Flacco is going to be the starter for some point of the season. Now, I moved Tyler Shuck I moved him down because he's currently behind Spencer Rattler on the roster. I still have him one spot ahead of Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, my 32nd, but I do have him in another tier because we don't know if he's going to be the starter to start the season, and for the most part, all these guys are expected to be the starters. I think not even for the most part. All these guys are expected to be the starters. That's the one room where we don't quite know yet. So Spencer Rattler is actually right behind him. I didn't create a tag for Spencer Rattler. Daniel Jones right in that same tier. It looks like he's got we'll see how the healing goes for Anthony Richardson, but Daniel Jones definitely might be the starter to start the season. I had Dylan Gabriel ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Of course, Sanders has a good showing, but all the rest of the news outside of that preseason 1 game is still that there's a lot of room to go and learn, and that the plan really doesn't seem to get Shedeur Sanders onto the field this year. But of course, you take advantage of those opportunities when you get them, and you do well with those opportunities, and you get more opportunities from there, and that's how you earn a starting job and then keep a starting job. And then I've got Kirk Cousins at the bottom here because, if something happens to Michael Penix, hey, it's Kirk Cousins, and he'll be another year removed from his Achilles injury. So those are the quarterback rankings as of now. Probably not going to be a whole lot more shuffling. If there's any position, the least shuffling is probably quarterback, and then tight end not too far behind that during the offseason. It's the running backs and the wide receivers that are, every day you want to move somebody a little bit around. So thank you very, very much. Tight ends video should be coming out Thursday throughout this entirety of the week if you haven't caught them. And last week, doing 10-team, 12-team draft strategy videos from the 1 through 3 or 1 through 4, between a 10-team or 12-team in terms of starting off with an early pick in your draft, and then looking at the middle picks in a draft, and looking at later round picks in the draft, if for your draft position later round. So there we go. Peace out.